let's get to it. My top 10 worst fantasy football picks of all time. Starting off with number 10, we're going to last year. 2024, Marvin Harrison Jr. I took him in a lot of leagues because he was one of the best prospects, right? 2024 NFL draft, he had 3 top-notch wide receivers. They were debating who was going to go first. You had Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, and Rome Odunze. And I had the opportunity to take Marvin Harrison Jr. pretty high in a lot of leagues, and I took the bait. And I don't know, it makes sense, right? This is the son of one of the best NFL wide receivers of all time. He's an excellent prospect, and he's got a guy who can get him the ball. Kyler Murray, love him or hate him, has some great arm talent. Marvin Harrison Jr. was a very big disappointment last year. And, he did produce, but not to the level that he was being advertised as doing. Not to the level that should have happened. And he had more misses than hits. And that's a reoccurring theme throughout this top 10 list for me. All right. So Marvin Harrison Jr. last year, 62 catches, 885 receiving yards, and 8 receiving touchdowns. He had some excellent games. He had 2 games over 100 yards. All right, week 2 he had 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. In week 8 he had 111 yards and 1 touchdown. And those are pretty significant numbers. Those are really, really good numbers. But for everything else, he was well under the 100-yard mark. It just became so bad that I couldn't justify starting him at all. And yeah, it was just so spread out. So you get a really good game here and then 4 or 5 weeks of bad. There was a game where he had no targets. All right. Week 1 against Buffalo, I remember this very clearly. There was an image of Marvin Harrison Jr. wide open on a potential game-winning touchdown, and Kyler Murray didn't even look his way. He had 1 catch for 4 yards, and I'm like, oof, this is not a good start to fantasy football season at all. So it was just underwhelming. Will it be better this year? I don't know. I don't know. Kyler is he could be so good. He could be so good, really, really good throwing the ball, and especially when you have a target as elite as Marvin Harrison Jr. can be. But last year was just disappointing. The good stuff, it was so just spread out. Again, that's one of the worst things that can happen is if you have a player who gets good yardage overall, but the big points just happen too infrequently. So Marvin Harrison Jr., my number 10 from 2024. Going to number 9 now, and I know this man has broken a lot of people. All right, broken their souls, including one of my 2 of my good friends. But I'm going to go Kyle Pitts from basically 2022 onwards. All right. His rookie season wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Not a touchdown heavy. But 2021, he had 68 catches for 1,026 yards and a receiving touchdown. So naturally, you think a tight end's going to get better. He's going to produce more in his second season and so on and so forth. But that was not the case. He played in only 10 games in 2022, and I took him. I had the opportunity to take him. Good, not just good, great tight ends are hard to come by. And so I decided to take him. And, yeah, he only played in 10 games, 28 catches, 356 receiving yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. When he's picked as your tight end 1, that is not the kind of production that you want to see. And it is it's gone up a little bit over the next couple. He's played in 2023, 2024, he's played the full 17-game seasons, but his numbers really haven't matched the hype. I bit into it last year because I was like, oh, wow, Kirk Cousins is coming to Atlanta. Kirk Cousins did pretty good with T.J. Hawkinson, utilized him. He's done a relatively good job over the years of utilizing his tight ends. And he had the most touchdowns of his career. He had 4 receiving touchdowns, but he had 602 receiving yards and 47 catches. And again, I don't know. And a top-level tight end, I don't remember where I drafted him at either. Like that's a part of this whole deal is I don't remember exactly what their draft position was for those, but Kyle Pitts is usually like again. I want a really good tight end. I want to nip that position in the bud as early as I can, and Kyle Pitts has been hyped up, advertised in every draft magazine over the last 4 years as somebody you should take early. Evan Ingram was that for many years when he was with the Giants. But yeah, 2022 onward, very disappointing with Kyle Pitts. We'll see what happens. I know I'm not taking the bait anymore. I'm not unless it's like like lower in the draft and he's still sitting there. I will not take the bait. I promise you that. So Kyle Pitts, number 9. Number 8, I'm going to go with Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton. I've fallen for Courtland Sutton plenty of times too. I remember this one very clearly. 2020, he was my 3rd overall pick. We were doing a studio league draft with my good friends, and just coming off a pretty good year. 2019, I don't even remember who the starting quarterback was in 2019, but he had 72 catches, 1,112 receiving yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns. So you expect things are going to progress. Oh, man, was it? I'm trying to think who it was, 2019. I think 2020 was Case Keenum. No, 2019 was Case Keenum, and he actually did good. 2020 was, they went some other route. And Courtland Sutton hurt his shoulder in like a preseason game. Messed the whole thing up. He ended up only playing one game that year where he had 3 catches for 66 yards. My 3rd overall pick, I think it was my wide receiver 1. Actually, yeah, it was my wide receiver 1. Did that. And since then, I have not taken the bait. Actually, I did. I lie. I did it once. I did it in 2021. I was like, I'll give Courtland Sutton another chance. And he did much better. He played in basically a full season, 58 catches, 776 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. But he never hit that like stride like that I was hoping for. But 2023, here I'm burned out on him. I don't want him. He has 10 touchdowns on the year. 2024, he's finally over 1,000 receiving yards again, has 8 receiving touchdowns. My luck, I'll take the bait on him this year, 2025, and he won't perform, even though I expect good things from Bo Nix. But we'll see. But Courtland Sutton, 2020, big disappointment. Moving on to our number 7, I'm going to look at 2024 again. We have 3 entries here from the 2024 season, which is hilarious because I look at this list, and when I was first playing, 2015, 2016, I got like 1 here and there. And now that I'm like this grizzled vet in fantasy football, I must be overthinking things or just I don't know, just downright not lucky. But most of my entries on this list are from like 4 years in and onward of playing fantasy football. Like you should start to pick up on certain things. But my number 7 is Sam Laporta from 2024. I happened across, I don't remember how I came across Laporta in 2023, but he was awesome. And he was my tight end 1. He carried me in a lot of leagues. In fact, that big money league, one I paid $150 to buy in for, it helped me win over $800. All right, it was a pretty penny, and I enjoyed it. But I bought in on Sam Laporta in 2024. I drafted him pretty high because, again, tight ends, you want to just nip that position in the bud. There's maybe 3 elite-level tight ends a year. Maybe 4 if we're lucky. And I bought all in. And Laporta had, overall had a decent year as a tight end, 60 catches for 726 and 7 touchdowns. But it was so spread out. It got to a point where I just stopped, using him. I stopped starting him in games because he just was not producing. Right? Here we go. Let's read through his first 9 games. All right. Again, this is a high draft pick for me. 4 catches, 45 yards in week 1. 2 catches and 13 yards in week 2. 2 for 36 in week 3. 4 for 53 in week 4. All right. Keep in mind, no touchdowns yet. Week 5, 1 catch for 52 yards and 1 receiving touchdown. All right, that's not bad. It's better than what it has been. Here we go. Week 6, 1 catch for 25 yards. He only had one game over 100 yards, and that was week 15. And by that time, I had given up on using him and starting him because he was just doing nothing, absolutely nothing. But he had a 7-catch, 111-yard receiving game against the Bills in week 15. He was a lot more consistent in 2023, at least when he started to turn it on a little bit. And so that's where like the disappointment came from with Sam Laporta. I don't know if I'm going to take a chance on Laporta this year. I don't know what their offensive coordinator situation is going to be like. I don't know what Jared Goff's tendencies are going to be in this new style of offense. I have no idea. But I can assure you after the letdown of this season that Sam Laporta is not going to be like he's not. I don't know if I'm going to take him as high. I'm definitely not going to take him as high as I did before. Again, good yardage, but when most of it is when a lot of it is in one game, it kind of like it sucks. It really sucks, especially if it's a game that you haven't used him at because he's been so disappointing. But number 7, Sam Laporta. Number 6, I'm going to put 2015 Marshawn Lynch. This was the first year I played fantasy football, and Marshawn was an enticing choice, especially after his 2014 season, which he played well. And this was the season that they lost in the Super Bowl to the Patriots on that Malcolm Butler interception in the end zone. But 2014 Marshawn Lynch, this dude's awesome, right? 1,306 yards, 13 rushing touchdowns, had 37 catches for 367 and 4 receiving touchdowns. So you're right. All right, let's get Marshawn Lynch. I get him. He might have been my first overall pick or first or second, depending on where I was at. But he only played in 7 games. He had 417 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 13 catches for 80 yards. That was tough. That was a tough pill to swallow early on. I ended up trading him. I ended up finishing 6th place in the league that year. But this was you know how NFL players have that welcome to the league moment? This is my welcome to fantasy football moment that nothing is guaranteed. And yeah. Marshawn Lynch 2015, very, very, very disappointing. All right, on the top half now, looking at my number 5. Let me set the scene for you. It's 2019. All right. This was a rough year for fantasy football for me. And I had 2 really, really bad incidents in one singular draft. It was a league that I was running. It was a family/work league. We're sitting in my parents' backyard and having a good time. And it's like middle of week 3 or 4 of the NFL preseason. So I'm looking. It's early on. And I need a running back. I need an RB. I think it was either 1 or 2. But I had this guy last year, and he did really, really good for me. So I was like, all right, let's get him again. Let's rein him in. And I stand up. I put his sticker on the board, and I sit down and get a notification that this player has torn his Achilles or ACL. I can't remember what it was. But it was Lamar Miller for the Houston Texans in 2019. Literally, as soon as I planted my butt back down in the chair, got that notification that it happened in the middle of a preseason game. The sticker was on the board. The rules are the rules, and I had to draft him, torn Achilles or ACL and all. And it sucked, but it was only the first part of my nightmare of that draft. We're going to talk a little bit about the second part momentarily here. But yes, Lamar Miller, my number 5. All right, we're heading into 2017 here for my number 4 choice. And this was in my very first family fantasy football league that I ever ran. I remember we were sitting in the sun porch, got my uncle's brother, cousin, in-laws over, and a good pal. And we're getting ready to do this thing for the first time. And I'm up. I'm like 4th or 5th overall in this draft, and I take Odell Beckham Jr., because he's good. He's that good where he's worth a top level pick. And I'm on a cruise ship in August with my wife and her family, and he gets hurt in the preseason. He gets hurt in the preseason, the third week of preseason, hurt his ankle doing something. And I'm like, oh my God. What the what? This is my first pick. And he missed week 1. And then I don't know if he re-aggravated it. I'm pretty sure he re-aggravated it, but he did not play from week 6 onwards. He only played in 4 games that year. So my first overall pick in my first family fantasy league got me 25 catches, 302 receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns in that game. And I avoided Odell Beckham Jr. like the plague from there on out. Unless it was a great value pick where he's in the bottom half of the draft and he's still sitting there, I didn't touch him. But obviously accidents happen, but come on, man. Come on. This stunk. And OBJ, I mean, he had a good year or 2 in Cleveland, but he was just mostly never the same after this. So yeah, OBJ 2017, that's my number 4. Number 3, he was a keeper in one of my leagues, in my big money league, and he was a draft pick in others, and it is Christian McCaffrey from 2024. Oh, good God. McCaffrey's the real deal. McCaffrey's a real deal. His 2023 season was awesome, and he actually was a big contributing part to me winning a lot of money. He did a really good job. He was part of that team I had with Sam Laporta and others, and he was just awesome. And in 2024, he went into the season hurt. In fact, he really didn't do anything. Workout wise, he was hurt. I think in training camp or going into training camp. So this is my keeper, or this is my first round draft pick in a lot of leagues, and so I didn't get to see him play until week 10, that's tough. That's late in the season. You're making a playoff push, so you need him to do really good, and he's just not the Christian McCaffrey that we come to know and love. So with this keeper, with this first overall pick in some of the leagues that I've done, I got 202 rushing yards, 0 touchdowns at all, 15 catches, 146 receiving yards. My breaking point was week 13. They're playing Buffalo in the snow, and he's kind of I need him to have the game of his life to make sure I get in the playoffs, because if I lose, I'm out. And this is what happened. He hurts himself again, and that was it. Middle of the game, he was doing all right. It's a snowy game, so of course they're going to run the ball more. And then he did something, hurt his leg, and he was done. So yeah, that's my Christian McCaffrey experience. There was a point where I decided not to draft him anymore years ago because he would always be hurt, but he strung together 2 really good seasons, 2022, 2023. So I thought, oh, okay, this is behind us, and it was not. So C-Mac is my number 3 from 2024. My number 2, Jonathan Taylor in 2022. What a abortion of a football season this was to watch as a Colts fan, but I traded up in a league. I traded with somebody to get the first overall pick because I knew that I wanted JT. He had a monster 2021 season where he had 1,800 yards rushing, I think, at the very least, and I think over 2,000 yards total between receiving and rushing. Disgusting, nasty year, but it was not repeated, and it has not been repeated since. So we come into the year and it's awesome, right? First week, 161 yards rushing, 1 rushing touchdown, 4 catches, 14 yards. JT's not much of a receiving back anyways. But that's a pretty good performance to start the season, and you think that things are going to go well. Well, they did not. 9 rushes for 54 yards in week 2. 21 rushes for 71 yards in week 3. 20 rushes for 42 yards in week 4. Inactive week 5, week 6. He only got over 100 yards again in week 10 against the Raiders, which was, he had ripped a big run. This was the first Jeff Saturday game when he took over as interim head coach. And he played a couple games after that, and then he was just done. He just did nothing, contributed nothing. Easily the worst, getting first overall pick is usually it's a layup. Yes, Jonathan Taylor was the hands down number 1 option for 2022. And he has gone down, not just by my own accord, but many people's accord, that he is the worst number 1 overall draft choice in fantasy of all time as far as ADP goes. So, Jonathan Taylor, 2022. And my number 1, we talked about 2019. We had Lamar Miller, and then there's Andrew Luck. So, an hour before he decided to call it a career and finally retire, Andrew Luck was my quarterback 1 selection in that same draft. All right. Feeling good, right? The Colts just as a Colts fan in general, he's coming back. He had a good 2018 season, led the Colts to the playoffs. They won a playoff game, and they lost to the Chiefs. And a decent, an okay competitive game. But here you think 2019, things are going to keep getting better. And yeah, so I picked him early. He was my dude, Andrew Luck, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. And yes, an hour later, I'm receiving a voicemail. I'm receiving text messages that are checking on me. My one buddy, I think I still have the voicemail on my phone. Let me see if I do. Let me see if I do. I saved this. He wanted to make sure I was okay. I had no idea what was going on. Here it is. August 24th, 2019. Let me see if it comes through.
Brother, I want to make sure that you're okay. And you don't do anything irrational. If you need somebody, you just call me. Later, brother.
We had a bonfire at my parents' house that evening. And I was so disgusted and sick to my stomach that I went home. I went to my apartment and just sat on the couch and stayed up all night. I laid like this, and I could not believe what would just happen. And it's not like the fantasy football aspect of it. It was being a Colts fan and just how flabbergasted and just torn, emotionally destroyed and checked out of the season. I was. I couldn't believe it. But 2019 Andrew Luck. I love Andrew Luck. It took a lot of courage to do what he did. But in the moment, that stung. And I was ready to puke. So there it is, everybody. My top 10 worst fantasy football draft picks. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that you decide to share some of your own horror stories when it pertains to making the wrong move, making the wrong choice.